Living Low Sodium will be going live in 30 seconds.
Oh, I suppose I could share. Yeah.
First show, Mary?
Hey, I'm new. I'm new.
That's right. Oh, shit.
It's first show. We're going to be on the news for me climbing across this table to strangle my
That's producer.
Group. Do.
Oh my god, that was loud.
See your first show?
Yeah. Welcome to Living Low Sodium with Mary Schepp. Living Low Sodium is a show all about living a low sodium lifestyle. Join Mary as she tickles your taste buds with her salty wit and her exceptional palate, all whilst guiding us through the land of low sodium living. Brought to you in part by the support of our good friends over at Reeses Barkery Pawtique. REESES Barkery.com or 815-363-7297. Today, the power of oats.
Oat power.
Oat power.
Yeah, so I had a interesting conversation. My sister is doing a lot of research into genetics and whatnot because all three of us have
genetics.
We do have genetics. Quirky genetics, as it turns out. But we all have issues. And they're not simple issues. They're a little bit more on the rare side. They're complicated. And they all are completely different yet intertwined at the same time. So she's doing a lot of research on this. And the other day we were having a conversation about cholesterol. She was asking how my cholesterol is with everything that I do and so on and so forth. And, we like to always complain that every time we go to a doctor, they want to put us on medication. Like me with my transverse myelitis.
Yeah.
First thing out of the nurse practitioner's mouth is, we're going to put you on gabapentin. And I said, no. And she literally, like, mouth agape, is looking at me. And I'm assuming that nobody has ever said that to her before. Yeah. She says, well, what do you mean no? I mean, no. I have advanced liver disease and I am not on any medications whatsoever. So unless you can tell me that gabapentin will cure my spine if I take it for 6 months, then you know what? I'm golden. Let's start popping pills. I'm all for it. But what you're telling me is gabapentin will help me with the pain. So when the pain becomes something that I can no longer handle, I will come back to you and find out what we can do. But until we actually figure out what caused the hole in my spine and everything else, I'd rather not take any medication unless you're telling me that, yep, we know what this is and this is what's going to go. Right. So same with her. She goes to the doctor and they said, well, your cholesterol is a little bit up there. Not quite horrible, but it's up there. So we're going to monitor it. You're going to come back and then we'll probably put you on some medication. Now it's working. Yeah. So I had asked her, did he say anything about fiber? She says, well, no, low fat. I said, yeah, they always say low fat, low carb diet, which is, it's true. Low fat, low carb, especially as you get older, it is healthy. It's just a healthy diet. Eating real food that isn't processed is typically low fat, low carb. Yeah. Because when you're eating carbs that you're not supposed to be eating, they're usually processed foods or white breads. Yeah. You know what I mean? So if you're eating real foods, fruits, vegetables, potatoes, steaks, chicken, whatever, fish, whatever protein. Yes, I know some steaks and red meat versus whatever, totally different show. But if you're eating real food, you're typically low fat, low carb.
Yeah.
So that is always the most common go-to, but nobody ever talks about fiber. Like it's the same as living low sodium. It's this offshoot that you only have to talk about if you have constipation issues. Like that's
Yeah,
really the only time
Metamucil.
someone comes
Yeah,
up, you
right.
know, like, oh, well, you can't go to the bathroom right, whether it's too much or too little, it's fiber. Or if you're retaining water, it's salt,
Yeah.
or you have high blood pressure. And the discussion is never that complete balanced lifestyle. And people, I don't think anybody, if you asked anyone when you're talking about diet or health or food, what does fiber do? Why do I need it? They're just going to tell you that, well, it makes you poop,
Yeah.
right? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
That's what's so aggravating is you talk about all of this stuff where there's so little knowledge about how much food helps everything about you. So oats are an easy one because there's fiber in all sorts of things, but oats are grains from a cereal plant, which is how you get the word cereal, which is why I brought you cereal this morning. Good thing that you like bananas. Rest in peace, Pete.
That's right.
But they're processed. So there's soluble fiber and non-soluble fiber. Oats are a form of soluble fiber. So when you look at a nutritional label, it says, like on here with I brought in, I think I have for my oats. So a half cup serving of oats, dried oats, which is about a cup of oats once they actually are in some form of liquid, is 4 grams of fiber, 2 grams of soluble fiber. So of the fiber in that, half is non-soluble, half is soluble. So that's why they've promoted it for so long. As of course, then you have the instant oats that are processed and garbage and blah blah blah. But that soluble fiber is what helps things like cholesterol. So the best sources of soluble fiber: oats, dried beans, fruits, vegetables. There's not really a dietary reference for how much soluble fiber you're supposed to get, but the recommended is like 25 to 30 grams of fiber for women. It's a little bit higher for men, and that changes when you get older. Me personally, just like anything else, I have a friend that looks at a box of French fries and she swells up like a balloon. She's just sodium sensitive. Same with fiber and anything else. Everybody processes things differently, so it's going to take a little bit. I myself, if I go at 26 grams of fiber, ruins my day. That 20 to 25 grams is where I need to keep my balance. And I haven't, as a person who spent a lot of time in the hospital my entire life with gut issues, it's insane. And now, since I've balanced my fiber, I haven't had a single gut issue since 2015. Not once.
Wow. How are you with gluten? It's a whole different show, but I was just checking.
I am fine with gluten, but I don't eat a lot of gluten because I don't eat a lot of processed foods.
Right.
So a little side tangent on gluten is the reason why gluten is such a problem is because it's one part of a very large nutritional thing. So when you take wheat and you take like flour, and you get rid of the wheat germ and the oil and the fats and everything, you end up with processed white flour, which is pretty much just gluten and cardboard dust. So if you can handle gluten, normally if it's only 2% of that seed, and now you take everything away but the gluten, all you're getting is gluten. It's like having a Bloody Mary with a shot of alcohol in it versus just putting a straw in the vodka bottle.
Right.
You could probably get okay with having a Bloody Mary and it's not going to kill you. If you sip a vodka bottle, a fifth of vodka every morning, you're going to have some issues. Same concept. So because I don't eat, I've never had to worry about or test for gluten, simply because I don't eat a whole lot of it, to be honest with you. And mostly when I do cook, I cook with a better wheat flour, rye flour, stuff that is a more complete flour. And then if you really want to know about flour, you can watch the episode that we did about bread that Kim Nordine was on. And we had actual fresh milled flour that we brought in that was
I remember
absolutely,
that. Yeah.
that bread was so good.
You can find that out on our YouTube channel, of course, under Living Low Sodium. You've got your own channel on our page, so 2169. And of course, subscribe, like YouTube, or we're pushing for 1,000 subscribers.
The more subscribers we have, the more stuff we get to do.
That's right.
So of the soluble fiber, it's usually recommended that you get about 6 to 8 grams of soluble fiber a day. So if you're getting 20 to 35, depending if you're male, female, tall, short, skinny, fat, whatever, you really do have to kind of play with it, because you'll learn real quick when you overdo it. And you can overdose on fiber, just like you can overdose on sodium, potassium, magnesium, all of that.
Yeah. Gary says, but at least you feel happy starting the day after sipping the vodka.
Yeah, this is right. You get the warm fuzzy and a little less inhibitions.
That's right.
So the oats, I like oats just because it's an easy way to get your fiber. So whether it's oatmeal in the morning, even oatmeal cookies, like if you reduce how much sugar is in them, which I tried to do,
right.
But like what I made you this morning, overnight oats.
Delicious, by the way.
So those can be made, and you can literally just put a cup of oat milk, regular milk, whatever you want, even if it's just water, and a half cup of oats, and put it in the fridge. And the next morning, add fruit, whatever you want to it. The ones that I made for you this morning is half a cup of unsweetened almond milk, half cup of Icelandic skyr, which is just a fancy yogurt from Iceland, half cup of oats, and then a tablespoon of honey. And then I brought some craisins in because I didn't think the frozen blueberries would travel well, or they would turn all your fingers.
I love craisins, by the way.
So that you're probably just eating the bag of craisins.
I will.
But you just put it in a mason jar or tub, whatever you want, throw it in the fridge, and then the next morning you have breakfast. That half cup of oats is half your day's soluble fiber.
Yeah.
So then at dinner, if you have some sort of fiber, part of it's going to be, if it's a complete fiber, is going to be soluble. So oats and soluble fiber, just fiber in general, lower the risk of heart disease by reducing both the LDL cholesterol and protecting LDL cholesterol from oxidation. So fiber, it essentially turns into a sludge in your gut, and it takes everything with it.
Oh, so it's like a scrub brush.
It really turns into a slime.
Yeah.
It literally because it attracts water. You have the soluble fiber, and then there's the regular fiber that doesn't attract anything. And you don't even digest it. It just goes through. But it's the same thing as putting a brush through a sewer pipe. There's no cleaning anything on it. It doesn't do anything but push everything through.
Yeah.
You don't realize how many toxins you accumulate in a day, whether it's through food or otherwise. So that's why when you have to have a colonoscopy and they give you a specific diet.
Yeah.
So I lived on eggs pretty much for 2.5 days before my colonoscopy, because there's nothing in there. You completely 100% digest the eggs. They're pretty much just protein. So there's nothing to come out at the end, which is why you need your entire colon clean so that they can actually see what's in there to make sure you don't have any cancers or anything else, or if there's something hiding. But all of the stuff that collects in there that could give you diverticulitis or irritable bowel syndrome, all of that sludge literally just takes it with it, soaks it all up like a sponge, and spits it out the other end. It's like your own perfect little detox system, and all you got to do is eat a little bit of fiber. So it's really not that much. I cannot read.
Yeah, Pam says, hate the texture of overnight oats, but like cooked oats.
And that's the thing. Like if you get, depending on the oats that you want to cook, there's so many different kinds of them.
Yeah.
But there's other types of fiber that you can do too, because some people just hate oatmeal. They just,
right.
I mean, everybody, it's like Pete when he hated bananas. I hate bananas. So you can't, you're not really going to be successful. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. There was a half a mashed banana in there.
Yeah, it was delicious.
You can also do applesauce and everything. But fiber is an important nutrient that most people are lacking.
But you can get it in other than oats, right?
Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah, I got quite a few different options on the next couple pages here that will show you different options of, I think I printed them. Yes, I did. So most nutrients supply your body with energy. Fiber helps remove waste, excess nutrients, and water from your body.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of us in the low sodium world or the heart healthy world or the kidney world or anybody over the age of 45, anybody who's pregnant, have heard of edema.
Yeah.
It's water buildup in your cells and your fat. Edema is a fluid retained by body tissues such as fat. It can have many causes ranging from overconsumption of salts, organ failure, alcohol, many different things. But eating a high fiber diet absorbs that water and eliminates that waste. So many times if I've overdone it, the two things that I usually consume is something like an oatmeal cookie or like a fig bar, even though there's a little bit higher in sugar, or a banana, because the banana is a double whammy. It's got fiber and potassium. And potassium helps counteract the effects of sodium. So for someone like me specifically, who has water retention for numerous reasons, then that's the case. So if you got to be careful. If you're an overall healthy person and you want to manage your fiber and all that kind of stuff, if you have an excess amount of water weight, and you don't know why, you're just thinking it's because you're older, you really should go to a doctor and find out why. And it might just be that you're just older, sodium sensitive, you have the wrong diet. It might also be that you have other serious issues that are causing that, because usually your kidneys or your liver have something to do with your water retention, because they're not filtering out your blood to process that water and that waste. Oh, that's it. So you had asked other sources of fiber: fruits, raspberries, pears, apples, and a lot of people peel their apples. Wash your apple and eat the skin.
Why wouldn't you?
Have you ever seen someone eat the whole apple, stem and all?
Yeah.
My brother-in-law does that.
I've seen it lately. I've seen a couple people. I'm like, what are you doing?
Right.
It's horrible.
He does. He literally, from the bottom of the apple, he just eats the whole thing, the stem.
Yeah.
And if the stem is too big, he just throws the stem.
Now, the interesting thing, I'm a dog guy. So we've got a couple of dogs who love apples.
Yeah.
But then they spit the skin out.
Yeah. Well,
it must be a texture thing or something. I don't know. But you give them a slice of apple and they'll eat it and then spit the skin out. It's weird.
There's a couple reasons that might be happening. There might be something on the skin that they can sense, a pesticide, an herbicide, or a lot of times you'll see apples tend to have this like a matte finish on them.
Yeah.
So many times they'll dip them in a wax that helps preserve them. So you can just, I wash mine with just Dawn dishwashing soap.
Mimi says, I just can't eat apple skin.
Some people can't, and I get it. I mean, most things you can eat all of. And that's there's so many different ways to get fiber, and there's so many different things that it does.
Pam says, mine ate everything except the stem.
Yeah. When we had our dog, same thing. It didn't matter. Unless it was medicine, he'd eat everything. So fruits, vegetables, grains, beans, nuts, seeds, legumes. There's a million different ways that you can get fiber into your diet. People just don't, because you don't think about nuts are expensive. So everybody says nuts are too expensive. I don't want to eat nuts, but they'll eat them if they're there.
Yep.
And when you eat bread, so many people eat white breads. They don't eat whole grain breads because they don't like the seeds and the texture and the whatever, because we've been raised on this super silky processed white stuff that it's not, I love, me personally, my favorite bread is rye bread. I everywhere we go, I always get rye bread. My husband's more of a whole wheat textural.
He likes the nuts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He'd yell at me for saying that. My husband likes the nuts. Giggling at home. Married to a dirty old man, but aren't we all?
That's right. Hey, whatever. However you get your
Right?
your fiber.
Get your fiber. Oh boy. We're gonna go south here pretty quick.
There it is.
So I personally love green peas, so I have peas all the time. It's another good source of fiber.
I love peas. Yeah.
Broccoli, turnips.
What about the pea pods too? Or I mean, when you
Yeah.
get like the sugar,
Yep.
the sweet peas.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Popcorn. People
Really?
think that popcorn is nutritionally void, but 3.5 cups of popcorn is 3.5 grams of fiber.
I had no idea.
So at night, if you want a snack and you haven't had your fiber for the day, have some.
What about? I mean, that stuff that you pop, or what do you think of that skinny pop stuff, or is that too processed?
I try to stay. It's funny because my husband picked on me. I think that the popcorn I bought from the Boy Scouts, not to discredit the Boy Scouts, I know it's a fundraiser and I know they're doing it to make money, but I could have bought the tub of popcorn from Sam's Club for like 99 cents.
Right.
But I buy it there because it lasts me a year.
Yeah, you get the seeds.
So
right?
I just pop it.
You pop it.
Because you put a bowl with a plate on it in the microwave and then some butter and Dax spices. It's perfect. So we make spicy popcorn all the time. But you're right. The stuff that's in a bag, I don't know. It's just processed. I'm not a big fan of the processed.
It's got to probably have some sort of stuff on it to keep it on the shelf longer too. So.
Usually they pump the oxygen out of the bag. So it's not necessarily an agent or a chemical or additive that they put on the popcorn itself. It's the fact that there's lack of, I don't know if they put nitrogen in it or something, but it's just that they take the oxygen out so it doesn't spoil. But the rye breads, whole wheat flours, oatmeals, I do not like quinoa. I've tried it 16 million different ways, and both me and my husband, it's a texture thing. I don't know.
I love it.
We just can't. I mean, I'll do barley and soup, but the quinoa is just, I don't know.
Pam, let us know. She says, I found a great sodium-free popcorn seasoning out
on
there.
Amazon?
On Amazon.
There's a few of them. You just have to be careful that if they're sodium-free, a lot of times they'll have potassium chloride. Mm-hmm. So if you're on any kind of heart supplements, heart medications, anything like that, you got to be careful of the potassium because they're potassium sparing or water pills.
Absolutely. Of course, you're listening to 21.6 The Net. This is Living Low Sodium with Mary Schepp, always found right here at 11 a.m. on Saturday mornings. And of course, if you tune in during the week, I don't know, let's say like on a Wednesday, perhaps you can listen to Innovative Strategies with Bill Hasse at 9 a.m. in the morning. Questions you never thought you could ask in church at 12:30, and 2 Bald Guys and Mike at 5:30. All great shows right here, 216 The Net. Check out the lineup at www.216thenet.com.
So Pam made a comment that the low sodium that she found uses nutritional yeast.
Yeah.
I love nutritional yeast. It is extremely nutritious. It's a deactivated yeast. So you don't get like the cultures that you would get out of a yogurt or something, or bread or anything like that. But they're like little tiny yellow flakes. It almost looks like fish food. But many people, much like the concept of, some people like cilantro and some people don't because everybody's got different taste buds.
Right.
Nutritional yeast, to many people, has a cheesy taste. So when they mix it with things like a dip or a popcorn seasoning, it almost tastes like a cheddar. So it's got that
kind of a cheddary popcorn.
Yep, it does. It has that flavor to it. So, but it's actually really, really good for you. And a lot of vegetarians and vegans use nutritional yeast because it's also high in protein. I think a serving of nutritional yeast is like 6 or 8 grams of protein, which is pretty decent for a tiny little. So it's not bad. My husband and I, we just don't eat a whole lot of fruit. He has lately.
Why not?
It's funny. I've known my husband since I was 12. Mm-hmm. And every time you really think that you know somebody. So recently, he started eating apples. I bought apples to make apple muffins, and he ate my apples. It's like, oh, I didn't know you liked apples. He says, I like apples. All right. Why didn't I know this? He says, well, I'm not going to ask for an apple, but, I like apples. I said, all right, well, I'll start buying apples. So I've been buying apples for the last 4 months. He's eaten apples almost every single day, which is amazing because it doesn't matter. Like if you're someone that needs change and you have to eat apples one day and oranges the next day and whatever, fine. It's still nutrition. It's still a balanced food, glucose, fructose. So if you're going to get sugar, the best way is through a whole fruit or vegetable, fiber, like all of the things that come along with it. So whatever, if you want to eat apples every single day, then great. Bananas every single day. You're consuming a serving of fruit, which is fantastic. So then same thing happens. I buy a Granny Smith apple. So I buy a whole bag of good apples of like, I don't know what they were, gala apples or something. And I bought one Granny Smith apple because I make a Brussels sprout slaw. And I thinly julienne a Granny Smith apple in that slaw. It's amazing, especially if you're a cabbage loving Brussels sprout person. But he ate my Granny Smith apple. So I was like, what the? Like there's 6 other apples in there. Why did you eat the one that I needed for the coleslaw? He says, well, I prefer the Granny Smith apples. Again. How could you have not told me this?
So great.
I've known this man for over 25 years. I just discovered this last summer that he likes apples. And now this whole time I've been buying apples, and he could have just said, you know what? I prefer the tart ones. Can you get, like, you didn't have to even know what it is. You could just tell me what it is.
I like the Granny Smith.
You had to wait until I bought one specifically for a recipe. And then I go to shred everything and do everything. And there's no apple. And I need that. Like, oh my God, you kidding me?
That's hilarious. Ted, good morning. Ted says, hey, Mary Schepp. Nice to see you. Your show has helped change my health for the better.
Aww.
Thank you for sharing your ideas.
Thank you, Ted. That makes me happy.
Glad you're doing better too, Ted.
Yes, very much so. I hear he's home now, so that's good.
Yep.
So regardless of what you eat, and a lot of times it's what I say when you talk about a healthy lifestyle. It doesn't mean that you can't have dips and coleslaws and all of these other things. It's making a healthier choice. It's making a healthier option. So, and actually when I get home tonight, I have mirai corn, I think is how you say it. That is a corn that originated here at a farm, and I believe Harvard, that they sell every single summer. It's amazingly sweet corn. It's a hybrid corn. It's so good, but I freeze it. So when I go home tonight, I'm going to make a spicy corn salad. It's still something that you would look at and see at a potluck or a picnic or whatever, that you'd say, okay, that's probably unhealthy. And it's not.
Yeah.
I make my own dressing, so it does have a, you can't eat the whole bowl. It's still got a dressing on it. So but it's a healthier option. So if I'm going to have a side dish, or if I'm going to eat something, it's better to have something of that. So you just make the healthier option. And, when you talk about snacking, oh my gosh, we eat all day long. But I have fruit, nuts, craisins, even though the craisins have sugar added to them.
Yeah, we are a big almond, cashew, and
peanut, I love cashews.
And peanut family.
And that's the thing that stinks about how expensive cashews are. Oh. Someday I will travel the world and I will actually get to eat a cashew fruit. We don't have them here because they don't travel and they spoil really, really, really fast. But it's called a cashew apple. On the bottom of this fruit is where the cashew hangs from. So it's like this weird alien looking thing. And that's how you get your cashews. They pick that, they dry it, and they send the cashews over here because it's a nut in it.
Right.
It's actually, I think it's a seed, but, so yeah, it's.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But those are one of the things where if I buy, especially when they're on sale, 3 or 4 different kinds of nuts and either the craisins or the dehydrated apricots, chop them up in chunks, put them in the little single serving sandwich baggies,
trail mix,
make my own trail mix so that anytime, especially now that I work from home, anytime I need a snack, I can just grab one of those little things. It's a perfect little serving, and I'm shoving my fat face full of little snackies, and they're good snacks. They're not garbage. So
cashews taste good without salt too.
They do.
Good flavor.
They are so sweet.
Yeah.
They really, really, really are.
So let me ask you, a listener asks, what about granola?
Depending on where you get it from.
Mm,
So if you make your own granola, 100% all day long.
okay.
The problem with granola is the sugar, because a lot of times when it's store bought, there's a lot of processed ingredients because it's easier to make things with certain kinds of gastronomy, like guar gum and stuff like that. Not that guar gum's bad for you, but those thickening agents and things of that nature versus making your own granola at home, or getting granola from even at the grocery store, like Fresh Time has the different things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you just have to pay attention, and that's where it comes down to reading the labels. It's much like potato chips. You can still have potato chips, just pick the plain potato chips with minimal seasoning versus, the, not to knock Doritos, because I'm a Dorito sly. I'll eat a whole bag of Doritos, but something like that. Even if you can find it lower sodium, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should be eating the whole bag. So there's always healthier options. But yeah, granola, I love granola.
Yeah, I mean, you see now a few shelves full of them in the stores now.
Right.
Different granolas and granola snacks and things of that nature.
And it's so funny the amount of times that you see stuff that touts being healthy, like milk.
Yeah.
We're the only creature that drinks another animal's milk.
I don't. I don't do milk. Pam says, our current trail mix combo I make is unsalted toasted almonds, dried cherries, and cinnamon roasted spaghetti squash seeds.
That sounds amazing.
It does. It really does.
I'm going to have to go home and make squash seeds.
And what got me was the cinnamon roasted spaghetti squash seeds. I've never thought of doing that.
You know what? And I was going to say that everybody thinks of pumpkin seeds. They forget all of the others, squash seeds, watermelon seeds, like the sunflower seeds. There's so many different kinds of seeds that you can just like that. When you scoop out a squash.
Watermelons have seeds?
Well, some.
That's what my 12-year-old say. What?
You can also make watermelon rind pickles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those are amazing because watermelon rind doesn't really taste like anything, and it's just nice and crispy, and it absorbs whatever flavor you throw on it. So they're really good pickles.
Ted says use guava nectar when you're making homemade granola.
Yeah, or honey, one of the two. But yeah, if you can use an all natural sugar, absolutely all day long, versus processed stuff. It's
what type of oat is best for that granola?
Usually your rolled oats.
Okay.
There's different kinds of oats. Most of us have only ever heard of rolled oats, the Quaker old-fashioned oats.
The old white guy there, yeah.
So they're like steel cut oats and stuff like that are becoming more popular. They take longer to cook. You have Scottish oats, which, unless you're specifically looking for them, I doubt that you'll ever find them here. If you go overseas, you will probably have them because it makes the best porridge. So if you actually have a long cooked porridge, which is oats, it'll probably be made of Scottish oats versus here where you'd probably use like a steel cut. The difference between steel cut oats or Irish oats and Scottish oats is the Scottish oats, I believe, are stone ground versus steel cut. So they're just as long as
as long as the wild oats are not sown. Hey, where's the rim shot? Ba-da-boom.
You have your whole oats, you have your steel cut oats or Irish oats, you have Scottish oats, what we all typically know as your rolled or old fashioned oats. You have quick oats, you have instant oats, which are the most processed, and then you have oat bran or oat flour. So if you want to make your own oat flour, you take oats and put it in a food processor.
Really?
That's it.
That's it.
Most things that are flour, because it's dried, it doesn't really. It's already minimally processed. When you try to make an almond flour or something like that, you're going to end up with peanut butter or almond butter because there's oils and fats and liquids. It needs to be dehydrated and there's a process to it. But with oats, if you want to make your own oat flour, you just blend it up.
Kathy says you can find Scottish oats on Amazon.
Amazon?
Amazon.
Oh.
You can almost find anything there.
Right?
Except Living Low Sodium. You can only find Living Low Sodium here, 21.6 of that.
Well, you might be able to find it on
Yeah,
the
we might.
Amazon.
Yeah.
When one time, maybe if I ever one of these centuries finish my book,
It could.
maybe. I don't know. It's such a slow process.
Stay
It takes a
tuned.
lot to write a book.
It does. Stay tuned. Yeah.
So which type of oats are best? They're all good. In all honesty,
Okay.
outside of instant oats, like a little packet that takes 60 seconds with some hot water, those are really processed. They're still nutritional. So if your only option for your kid, your husband, or whoever to actually eat oats is instant oats, then great. But they're usually loaded with sugar.
Yes.
So
Yes.
even when I make oatmeal, I tend to put honey in it. I probably put more honey than I should, but at least you get the benefits of honey. And I still love the fact that they can't tell you why it's beneficial. They can't tell you why it cures things, why it helps things, why it fixes things, and why your body doesn't react to it the same way that it does sugar, but whatever. They don't know yet. I don't care. It doesn't affect me the same way that sugar does.
Winnie the Pooh was a genius.
Right. He really was. That's my favorite character.
Honey.
So the nice thing about if you get oats and you're eating fiber and you have an added sugar, it's kind of it's again with that balance. When you have something that's sugary and you don't have the fiber in your diet, then you get those sugar spikes.
Right.
When you have a good balance of fiber in your diet, because it removes all of that waste, it takes the sugar with it. So the stuff that spikes your blood, your cholesterol, your sugar, your sodium, all of those things, all of those waste products that you normally are eliminating by having that balanced fiber. So if you have a little bit in the morning and a little bit at dinner, then you're literally you're giving your organs that are a natural detoxification system the best opportunity to do their job. Filter your blood, get rid of excess water, get rid of excess waste, get rid of the things that you don't need. You need sugar and potassium and sodium to live. But if whatever is excess, when you're balanced, that's the point of having an elimination system.
Yeah.
It keeps what's needed and eliminates the rest. In a perfect world, and believe me, I am not perfect, and we eat dinner almost every single night closer to 6:30, 7 o'clock. But in a perfect world, you fast almost every single day. In a perfect world, you are done eating by 6:30, 7 o'clock at the latest. Mm-hmm. And then your body has time to naturally do what it's going to do. It's going to shut down. It's going to start shutting down your systems. It start increasing melatonin levels. It's going to start saying, okay, we're going to go to sleep. So there's even a chemical in your body. I don't think mine produces this because I get up to pee about 16 times a night. But it suppresses your urge to pee, so that you can sleep for a significant period of time without having to go to the bathroom. Obviously, if there's enough liquid in your body and your kidneys actually and liver and all that kick into overdrive when you're sleeping as well to detoxify your system. If it's there, it's going to wake you up to go to the bathroom, at least you would hope. So all of those things that happen, if your body's also digesting food at the same time, it screws that rhythm up. So then it's trying to process fats, save fats. I don't know what to save. I'm going to save some of this. I'm going to keep some of that. And it starts storing all of this stuff. And that's what happens when you're not balanced. So I never in a million years would have thought how important fiber was. And I honestly have to say, I believe that it's more important than any other part of my diet. Because since I had went on this journey of trying to balance everything, potassium, sodium, magnesium, protein, sugar, because I had muscular atrophy, and to, build muscle, you need protein and carbs and fat, and you need all of the, well, protein is harder for your body to digest. So to help your body digest the protein, I need more carbs and carbs and fat make you fat. So how am I going to do that without getting a fatty liver? Because if you do too many carbs and fat when you already have a damaged liver, you end up with fatty liver. So I found that by balancing, and I literally, I over the course of 3 months, went from way too much fiber, this is horrible, to not enough fiber, to this is horrible, to I found that sweet spot of like 22 to 25 grams of fiber every single day. And I have not had a single solitary gut issue since 2015.
That's awesome.
All because of fiber.
What about Metamucil and things like that, where you instant fiber? I don't know what it would be called, right? But you stir it into a glass of water.
Supplements, yeah. So yes and no. My personal opinion, again, I'm not a GI doctor or whatever, any kind of doctor. I just play one on a radio show. Okay. But see, that's what we need. We need a simple. Anyways, when it comes to supplements like that, if you can't consume enough on your own, if you have allergies, dietary restrictions, whatever it may be, there are certain circumstances where the best possible option is to take a supplement, whether it's a fiber supplement, an iron supplement, vitamin D, things like that. Sometimes your best possible option. The problem with that is it's a processed product. So it's not the best option. You're better off eating half a cup of oats or some nuts or some berries or fruits or something of that nature. Yeah. I love peas, so I could literally just eat half a cup of peas, Brussels sprouts, all of that stuff. Where did my greens go? Turnips, potato. Oh my gosh. See, potatoes, 4 grams of fiber.
With
sweet
the
corn.
Skin.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is most times the skin is the healthiest. Like it's got the most bits that you need. So you can, but like I said, you can overdose on fiber. And that can cause, vomiting and cramps and pain, and that can cause issues of its own. And you're more likely to overdose on a supplement than you are eating, apples. Yeah. If you overdose eating apples or almonds, then you're eating a lot of apples and almonds. So that's one of those things where it's along the lines of what you can overdo it much, much easier on a supplement than you could just eating real foods. I did post, I was so excited this morning because the picture on here is the oatmeal cranberry cookies that I made.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there looking at my husband. I'm like, oh, and he goes, did you forget to write down another recipe? Like I'm literally trying to write a cookbook, trying to do all this stuff. And everybody's constantly asking me for my recipes. And it's so hard when you're cooking stuff and doing stuff. And then half the time when it's an experiment and it doesn't turn out and you're like, this is garbage, that's going straight in the trash, you forget to write it down. So, but I did actually remember to write down my recipe for the oatmeal cookies. I shared it on our page, on the Miloso Lifestyle. And even if that's your only source, whatever, I get it. Right. Not everybody's going to be the one that's going to go out and eat perfectly healthy. And if you can get an option, that's the best possible way.
That is the best way.
I was trying to think of, I've never actually had myself whole oats. They take like 30 minutes to cook. All my life up until now, when I started researching food after I got sick, I'd never been exposed to them. Like, have you ever had anything other than just your standard old old white guy Quaker Oats?
No,
right?
I really haven't. I mean, steel cut, right?
Right.
There was a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago, steel cut was the big thing.
It was all the rage. Yeah.
Ted, take a look right down in the lower part, right underneath Mary, www.mylosolifestyle.com. That is where you can find her webpage, all her good stuff right there.
I'm slowly getting better at putting my recipes up there, and it stinks because every time I try, something's changed, something's updated, and it takes me 10 minutes to fix my website. And then I got to write the recipe, and then I got to figure it out. And then, of course, because I put the nutritional specs on it, it gets, blah, 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 and it gets lost, blah, blah, this and the other. And oats on their own are low sodium. So you would think, and this is what's so funny about when you live in a society that puts healthy across everything to get you to buy it. So you automatically see oats or granola or whatever it is. You're like, that's healthy. I can eat that. Mm-hmm. And then you look at it. So if you track your food and you go on to like My Loso Lifestyle or Noom or anywhere else, track your food and you try and put in oats. If you don't scan, if it's got a barcode option, you can scan the actual product. So it pulls that product up. You have to dig through all of these things. And I'm looking this morning, I was trying to figure out some nutritional specs for something. I'm like, there's no way that plain old ordinary half a cup of oats have 180 milligrams of sodium in it. There's just no way. So sure enough, I go looking, and that was for an oatmeal that someone had registered, because a half cup of oats have less. It's like not even registered. It's 0. So it might be like a gram or 2, because anything I think less than 5 grams can be listed as low sodium or no sodium. But there isn't. So if you're reading something and it says, oats or granola or whatever, and it's 200, 300, 400 milligrams of sodium or 20, 30, 40 grams of sugar, there's added sugar in it. And that's the one thing that I do like is they have to put added sugar now. So when you're looking at a product and it says 19 grams of sugar and no added sugar, like craisins or apricots or anything like that, that's just the fruit. Right. It's just dried. Right. So at least you're getting a complete item. Yeah. Versus when you see something and it says, 19 grams of sugar and 8 of them are added, that means you're just getting straight up, I think it's glucose when it's just refined sugars. Oh, what does Ted say?
Ted says, my mother makes molasses cookies with oats. They are great.
Oh, I love
deception processes suck. Companies should have to be completely honest, even in their packaging. I wouldn't sell.
No. It's the same as when people tell me to open a restaurant.
Yeah.
I know that my food is good. It's not feed the masses good, because people like salt. Yeah. They like it for a reason. I like salt. It makes things taste good. I understand that. But the same, people like sugar,
Yeah, a good thing to do if you want to taste Mary's food is go to a nunnery where the old nuns, there's a cafeteria and there's no sugar or salt put in anything. No. A nunnery.
Compare me to a nunnery.
Know what it's called.
Convent.
Yeah, there you go.
I almost said convict. Totally different things. Totally different things.
Maybe. Never mind. Anyway, God bless the Catholic Church. Here we go.
So Kathy had asked about sugar. How about Truvia or stevia?
Yes.
So there's not a whole lot of research on the stevia plants. It's still a processed item. So it's along that same lines of, like with sugar. You can argue all day long, well, it comes from sugarcane. True. Same with table salt. It's just sodium chloride, but it's refined. So depending on what you're trying, and that's the problem, is they say that sugar's bad, sugar's bad, sugar's bad. So somebody comes and discovers another plant that also tastes sweet. And if we take that plant and we refine it down and turn it into a powder, it's also a sweetener. So
here's the interesting thing, I think, and I love watching survivalist shows and things like that. We, in our ingestion of food, we have just become very comfortable with fancy packaging and whatever. We don't educate. You do a lot of educating of yourself. You have to, because of your condition. A fat, out of shape guy like me, I'm like, ooh, it's bright and it's
right.
Tastes good.
And it says healthy, no sugar, stevia.
Yeah, right. But the interesting thing is I watch like these survivalist shows and things like that, and followed certain people on social media because I'm just enthralled by it. They're like, well, here you see this little pocket on this tree. This is antiseptic, and I'm like, you're so educated, and I think we have gotten out of that piece of what am I actually putting in my body.
Right.
The cave people would be like, ate it, nope, didn't like it, oh, that came out of a weird opening or whatever.
Sure.
And you're like, nope, that stuff's not good, right? Or that fella fell over.
It's that same so the reason why certain people like me are nightshade sensitive is that exact what you're talking about. The instinctual side of you is why we're addicted to sugar.
Yeah.
And the genetic coding inside of our body says that you're either allergic or sensitive or not sensitive. Wherever my bloodline was over the centuries, the nightshade plants that they had outside of potatoes were dangerous. Like if you've ever read Hamlet, that's what they use as a nightshade. So certain nightshades are extremely poisonous. So instinctually you learn, back in those hunter-gatherer days, where you say, okay, I've learned that this is bad, don't eat that. And it's the same with sugar and salt. You learn that salt makes things flavorful. You learn that salt things, they preserve things and so on and so forth. And sugar, that's where, you discovered honey. And that's why even tribes that are barely discovered, and they'll brave a beehive and stick their hand inside a million bees and risk getting stung because that sugar is instant energy. It's not something you can live off of, but that's exactly why we are addicted to it, because instinctually you need to eat.
Yeah.
So when your body gets that energy, that's the problem though, is as we've grown into this supersized world of, I was laughing the other day because of the sizes of French fries.
Yeah.
Someone was arguing online how they're all the same. Small, medium, large are the same. And someone actually counteracted and said, nope, that fast food chain does actually, it's supposed to be like 2 ounces or 2 ounces, 4 ounces, and 6 ounces.
Yeah.
So they're arguing back and forth. And he goes, you ask anybody that's ever worked in that fast food chain across the entire globe, how many of them have ever seen a scale inside that restaurant? They have one scoop. There isn't a small, medium, and large scoop. There's one scoop and whatever fits. And it's almost always about the same amount of fries.
Yeah.
So I thought that was hilarious because we're in a supersized world, whether it's a Venti Starbucks or a large or a double or triple burger and
big gulp.
The big gulp.
Gary says Coca-Cola did release a Coke Stevia, and he would know. He is like the Coke.
Is he a Coke? Is he a Coke guy?
Yeah, he's got.
That's Gary, right?
Yeah. Gary's got Coke. That's his drink, Coca-Cola.
I was gonna say is that like here? I think Pepsi wins. In Singapore, does Coke win?
Yeah, well,
I wonder
Gary's house Coke wins.
That's funny. Sure. Yeah, so it really does. You do have to read the labels. And it's funny when someone says that they pay attention, I win. That's it. That's all I wanted. The amount of times someone had said something to me about how I don't push food down, how I don't make you eat what I eat. You can't salt your food. You can't whatever, this, that, and the other. Now I'm curious why you're cracking up.
Well, we were just talking about French fries. And, we my in-laws came and watched my daughter play basketball. I absolutely loved them, and we went out to the Golden Arches, and of course, you get the meal. And my mother-in-law, God love her, cracked open a little salt pack and put more salt on those French fries. And my throat is on fire because of the salt that was already on them. And I was like,
and that's what's funny is I used to.
Mm-hmm.
I used to salt my ketchup.
That's a big
like
thing.
ketchup. The fries are salted. The ketchup's salted. The ketchup's like 300 milligrams of sodium. And here I am digging through the thing to find the little salt packet to break open to salt my ketchup because it wasn't salty enough.
Yeah.
I remember being younger. and my sister was addicted to Rosati's pizza.
Mhm.
And we get this super large size of the coffee table pizza, salty as, I mean, I even remember it being salty
Yeah.
then, and we would still put salt on it. It's just insane. Um,
Yeah.
something
Gary
coming
says
from.
generally Coke is more popular than Pepsi in Asia, probably because had something to do with like to teach the world to sing in
Oh,
perfect
yeah.
harmony.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
there you go.
that makes
And that's
sense.
my singing career, folks.
That's why you got a face for
Yeah,
radio.
Ted says my dad used to do that too. Ugh.
Or salting watermelon.
Oh, and that's delicious though.
It is delicious though. See, that's the thing is I still like salt.
Yeah.
And I still have salt. But I, much like anything else, we're over salted, we're over
Yeah.
sugared, we're oversized. The amount of food that you're actually supposed to eat in a day. Like if you look at pictures from generations ago, the size of a dinner plate
Yeah.
was like what you would think of as a tea plate now.
Right.
In the portions that we eat. And it's funny because when I talk to someone about their kids, and I literally just had this conversation not too long ago with someone about one of her kids who doesn't eat. And he eats, but he doesn't eat a lot.
Yeah.
They eat so little. Their stomachs are so unbelievably tiny. So my generation and older, I get it when our parents and grandparents are going, you need to finish everything on your plate, because they literally grew up in a generation when they didn't have a clue when their next meal was going to come from. Yeah. And they wholeheartedly saw their family live on potatoes for a week straight because they didn't know there was nothing else.
Sure. No, that was it.
So when you have finally the option to eat and you're going, we're gonna have the big giant scoop of this and the scoop of this and the scoop of this because we're gonna gorge and fatten up while we can. And that learned behavior doesn't go away. So then you teach your kids that when you don't need it. Like my parents, we had plenty of food in the cabinets. There was no reason for that, but we still did it anyways.
Here's what I'm trying to be mindful of is food should fuel you,
right?
Not put you to sleep. So if you if you push away from the table and you're like, I gotta go take a nap,
right?
You've overdone it,
right? And that's so unbelievably true. And it's funny because if you eat a small amount and you feel that way, you also might want to talk to your doctor because, like with myself, my body tells me really quickly when I've overdone it.
Yeah.
Because even if I'm eating something perfect, like plain ordinary old popcorn, no salt, no butter, no nothing, or even just a plain potato. If I eat too much, to just simply digest a large portion of food it taxes your internal organs. And as you get older, your organs aren't as good as they used to be, because I guarantee you haven't been the epitome of health since you were born.
Yeah.
Most of us don't start actually even bothering to pay attention until our doctor says, hey, guess what? Your cholesterol's high, your blood pressure's high, or this is high, or that's high, or somebody in your family has a medical emergency and you go, holy crap, my brother just had a heart attack. I wonder if I'm prone to heart attacks. I better start watching my stuff. And then you start finding out all of these things. That's when I made my change. Sadly, I wish I would have known.
What I would love, and I know we're on the back end of this this show. What I would love is, and you may have done this season 1 or something. But we're getting into spring break. We're getting into vacation time. We're rolling up on the world's opening back up. How do you? A lot of people I still love to drive. I would prefer driving than flying, not because I'm afraid of flying. I just like seeing stuff, right? And of course, anytime that you travel or on a vacation, it's highway food as well, is what we call it in my car. So how would you plan for that? Because there are no low sodium beef jerkies out there in the gas stations, and
we'll have to do a whole new show on. We'll do a show on it. Yeah. But there is a lot of ways that you can combat that, and it's funny because we were just watching an episode of American Dad.
Yeah.
And he makes this comment because she says, yeah, you look like the same guy, but fatter. And he says, and because it was a future time travel thing,
Yeah.
and he says, in the future they have this thing called Jamba Juice. They're going to tell you it's healthy, but it just makes you fat. And both my husband and I were dying laughing. Like, it's true. It's 100% true. It's nothing but all of the sugar from the fruit. It tastes amazing, but you're like, hey, this is a big giant fruit cup. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's a sugar bomb. You're going to crash. It's dessert. You treat it as a treat because that's exactly what it is. So the bigger it is, it's so funny.
Jen says that the Florida McDonald's by her mom doesn't sell the fries because the community is all older people.
Yeah.
That interesting.
Yeah. Yep. I discovered that. We were talking about that because my dad lives down in Florida.
Yeah.
So yeah, we will. We'll do. Well, that's a good. I'm going to make a note before I forget. But we'll do an episode on travel food.
Yeah, I think
road trip.
Yep, road trip. I think that would be fantastic.
Road trip episode.
Of course, that's going to bring us to the backside of this episode. Of course, oats. I love oats. Everything about oats. This has been Living Low Sodium with Mary Schepp. Check her out at www.mylosolifestyle.com for all great recipes and things of that nature. Stick around all day. We've got good stuff going on. Come back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for Lisa's Changing Perceptions. For all of us here at 216 The Net, thanks for getting caught in the net today. Be good and be good to each other.